And like, what are the recent developments in safety systems that you have come across? For example, if you talk about the latest development that you have come across, what are those in safety systems?
The latest and I think the most interesting developments is what I follow, how to make neural networks safe. So
Mm,
artificial intelligence, how to make it safe.
mm,
I think that's probably the most interesting thing what is currently happening,
mm,
because we cannot use our ideas we had to look, for example, in the software code line by line, because I don't know if you do know exactly how a neural network works, but we cannot look on
mm,
every line. So,
yeah.
and even if we then look on the or the weights that the neural network is using, we
Mm,
cannot imagine what it means,
mm,
because that's that complex that we cannot assess it. And there are now all these approaches how to make them safe or how to assure that they are working safe. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges now, and also one of the most interesting fields regarding safety engineering.
mm, yeah. And now, why do you think that people are going towards cars with more features rather than cars with a higher safety rating? Because like I read some studies, and it told that nowadays people go with cars which have like more cool features, and rather than cars with a higher safety rating.
Yes, that's thinking of Tesla. Let's say the name. What I'm the name of the brand I'm thinking of. So it's a pretty cool car.
Mm,
It's very good. Um, it's a very good product
yeah.
in most aspects, but yeah, the autopilot, to call it that way, and then calling something autopilot and then say the human is always in charge. That's something that you should not do that.
Mm,
And also then I see they have now a gearbox where you it changes the from forward to rear itself. So just it evaluates itself if you want to now push back or if you want to drive straight ahead. And I don't think that it's on, we see that they are not on that level that they can fully assure that this is safe. And also in safety engineering, uh, looking at in the machinery industry, you have all these touch screens, very
mm,
special touch screens where they are not that fancy like a full HD or 4K touch screen, but they're reliable, they are safe. If you're touching on this point, then you're touching really on this point. And you cannot make all these fancy gestures, but you have just can't touch.
mm,
So, and now Tesla has, for example, you can switch gears also with a swipe on the touch screen.
mm,
And that's something they use consumer grade technology for such a function. What I don't think that this is really the way we should pursue, but we should stick to the overall idea that we can just implement something that critical if we really know that it's safe, and not say, okay, but it's fancy, let's do it.
mm, yeah. And for example, if I talk about the features in cars, I saw that. Wait a second. What was it? I saw, see, so people say this as an argument that, I know how to drive safe on roads. Okay. People think that, like their driving is good enough that they can, like prevent a car. So they
Mhm.
have this excuse for not buying for a car with higher safety rating, because they think that they are good enough drivers that they can prevent an accident. But I'm like, you can't assume that for every other driver on the road. Maybe some other driver is not as good as you, and you might get involved. So you never know.
Yeah, the problem, I don't have anything to add basically, because I read a paper a student wrote, and I was the supervisor, and there also he cited a study where they made, first they asked the people how good they think they are as a driver, and
Mm.
no one said they were below average.
Mm.
Some said average, that was the lowest answer, and yeah, probably everyone said they are below above average.
Mm.
So, and then they made also tests. They drove. I was it the same study, but they then compared it to the skills of drivers, and they saw that's not these um, yeah, their answers are not feasible comparing to how people drive.
Mm.
So yes, I think we all should keep in mind that data proves us that we are not that good drivers as we think. And as you said, probably you are a good driver, but maybe the person also driving on the street is not a good driver. Maybe there is an obstacle and you simply cannot see it because that's beyond human
Mm.
capabilities. So it would always be a good idea to also look on, oh, how safe is my car, and that should be also an argument
Yeah.
to buy a more safe car.
Mm.
But one part is the active safety with ADAS systems, and probably also looking on passive safety, which is not core uh, my core topic I'm working with, but also passive safety is something really important to say, okay, in a crash, how is the car deforming, or is it stable, and so on.
Mm.
That would be something which is also important if you're a very good driver.
Yeah. And ultimately, it gives you that feeling of satisfaction that, okay, the car which I'm driving in is safe enough to protect me in case any mishappening happens.
Sorry, can you repeat it?
I said that, you get that feeling that you are in a car which is safe enough that it would protect you even if you get involved in an accident. God forbid.
Yes, this is, but this can also be a dangerous feeling,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
it should not be that you say, okay, this car prevents me from everything.
Yeah.
This could be the problem with
Mm.
ADAS systems.
Mm.
Still always keep in mind, we don't have self-driving. The human behind the wheel is the most important
Mm.
actor in keeping this car
Mm.
safe, and everything uh, the other
Mm.
things are assistance systems. But
Yeah.
one good aspect is these assistance systems should work with you as a driver.
Yeah.
So give you information, check if you are
Mm.
um, so following certain comments and so
Mm.
on. So as I said, for adaptive cruise control, if the cruise control fails,
Mm.
there needs to be a clear information.
Mm.
You need a clear information about the distance you're keeping
Mm.
with the car in front of you. You
Yeah.
need a clear information that the uh, adaptive cruise control now braked your car in to keep more distance and so on.
Mm. Yeah.
If you're thinking of uh, airplanes,
Mm.
because we had the name autopilot. If
Yeah.
you're thinking of airplanes, the pilots are mostly not actively steering the
Mm.
plane,
Mm.
but the autopilot is flying the plane. But one important aspect, there is always a routine. The pilots need to check something, they need to um, make certain comments, they need, and the system, it's designed in a way that the system also asks the pilot, is this value now okay? I am doing this, and they need to check. So this is not something that the human is out of the loop. The human is
Mm.
in the loop,
Mm.
interacting with these assistance
Yeah.
systems. So, and the same must be for cars, and it's especially true if we now have this phase between self-driving and not self-driving, when we are more and more automating uh, the driving task.
Yeah.
And we need to design this driving experience for the driver in a way that the driver can interact with the systems, get all the information, and to then take certain actions. What cannot be the case is that you are, let's say, driving down a road, and then the system says, okay, I failed in 10 meters, there is an obstacle, please brake yourself. So, and then the car driver cannot take over and brake to zero in 10 meters, probably. So it always needs to be designed in a way that also this interaction between automated system and driver is safe. So if such a highly automated assistance system fails, probably we need to brake the car automatically. So yeah, context all again, it's very important, and also to then assess what's the best action to take.
Yeah. And these these systems should basically complement the driver and not necessarily replace the driver.
Yes, that's the future for the next years. We don't have full self-driving. It's it's an assistant system.
Exactly.
That the name says everything, and it needs to assist you. So give you the information you need, and take the actions in a way that you can interact with it. So human-centered, and also for autonomous driving, as you had the example before, we need to be human-centered. So the car still will be there to move humans, move goods. So they are the most important actor, even if the car is self-driving. The car is not the star. It's human-centered. It must be human-centered approach.
Exactly. Now, what is the best way to measure the safety of a car? Like, is it to look at the NCAP scores of the car, or do some, or like has a person has to do a door test or something like that?
So as for passive safety, NCAP for all these crash tests is probably a good way to assess the safety of a car. From thinking of functional safety, it's not that easy, because we have regulations, and if you're buying a car which is available globally, that is engineered according to ISO 26262. So that's the functional safety standard for the automotive industry. And they are implementing the standards of this standard. But certain OEMs say, okay, that is the minimum level, we want to do more. And this is something, I could now tell you some examples, but that would be a little bit advertisement, and I don't want to do it. But at least I can say German car makers are not implementing just the minimum, but they are doing always a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. Now, what is your take on manufacturers that like try to save manufacturing costs by using cheaper materials, and that leads ultimately to like making the car unsafe?
Yeah, that's not human-centered, basically. So my approach would be also to keep it human-centered, and I would not say customer-centered, but human-centered. And then this approach you can keep through the whole engineering and production process. And yeah, based on where a certain accident may happen, then I think they won't do it again if they are paying uh, a big amount of money because they lost or be on court.
Yeah.
But also from a human perspective, it's don't look on to make a little bit more money, but use materials where you can say this car is safe. But apart, if you follow all the standards and rules, there's always room for to do more. You can
Yeah.
always do more. So if you're doing not everything what is standard and what regulations say, then you're a criminal.
Mm.
But if you do everything what is standard and what regulations tells you, then you are not a criminal, but maybe you could do more. So, and there is always this room for these decisions. And yeah, thinking of your customers as a humans,
Mm.
you probably need to do a little bit more than just the bare minimum.
Yeah. Now, which like what are the safety features that you think are absolutely necessary for a car to have in 2021?
So I think there were some features, safety features, we don't deem them really as features anymore
Mm.
because they're standard. So yeah,
Mm.
ESP, I think uh, we have this very cars became very smooth.
Mm.
So in older cars, you had a more rough feeling, and you knew, okay, this car might now uh, crash if I don't
Mm.
slow down.
Mm.
But today we have very smooth cars. I think
Mm.
we don't have the exact feeling on how the
Mm.
car is on the road. So ESP is something very vital for me. Therefore,
Yeah.
you are improving comfort there, and therefore you're losing feedback from the street.
Mm.
Therefore, you need this feature. So this would be probably the most basic feature. Um, Speaking of passive safety, airbags, I think I
Mm.
see in advertisement, yeah, we have 8 airbags
Mm.
there, and I think yeah, that's standard now. We should not talk about it. So
Mm.
everything, every feature I say we should not talk about it anymore. This is something I would deem as very basic and very important. Um, yeah, personally, I like the adaptive cruise control because it takes a little bit of weight from you, especially when driving high speeds on
Mm.
the roads,
Yeah.
because you cannot always say if something is slowing down. So if a car brakes, you see the red lights, but if it's just slowing down and not accelerating, then you probably don't see it. The distance is smaller, and then the car brakes properly fully and you crash.
Mm.
So adaptive cruise control can help you when driving with higher speed. That's something I would deem as very uh, important because it keeps a little bit of uh, yeah, it takes away a little bit of the workload from the driver.
Mm.
So the driver can concentrate on other things, driving tasks,
Mm.
but concentrate more on them and drive longer roads. So
Mm.
especially when driving longer roads, these assistance systems can help you to prevent accidents. Um, that's just one example, probably, but maybe I want to add to your question. It always depends if in which scenario are you driving. So you don't need adaptive cruise control in a city if you're just
Mm. Yeah.
driving in a rush city. But if you are driving long distances, uh, then probably that would be a good thing. If you are driving at night, it's a good thing to invest in a IR camera assistance system, which gives you a little bit more of field of view, for example.
Mm.
So, on the other hand, if you're just driving on a sunny day with your sports car.
Mm,
Just when there is good weather, then you don't need probably such things. So apart from these very basic things, it's then again depends a little bit on what is your need,
mm,
when, in which context are you driving your car.
exactly. Context matters.
Yeah, context matters always. That's
Mm,
if you ask me a random question, context matters.
mm. Now, do you think that motorsports has a big role to play in terms of safety features we are getting today in cars?
Sure.
Mm,
So, and we see it. For example, all these approaches with using light materials, compound materials, composite materials are also called, to replace steel and aluminum. They came from the motorsport industry. Uh, so they are testing it there, and then it comes to the road. So this is not a safety feature in the first place,
mm,
but it's something for fuel efficiency. But we then know when it is implemented in real life cars, in everyday cars, that we know it comes from the motorsport industry, and it is proven to be safe probably. Also, this some of the assistance technology regarding uh, ASI and ESP, I think they
mm,
were tested in the motorsports industry. I don't know exactly, but a lot of features can be tested there with drivers. They know they put themselves on danger, so they are somehow functioning as a test driver.
mm,
But apart from amusement, they are also working somehow as a test engineer
mm.
and improving the safety of cars 5 years later. So they are testing it first, and then it comes to everyday cars.
Yeah. Now,
So maybe, sorry,
yeah.
maybe it's not the biggest role they have in
Mm,
safety, but for sure they have a role.
yeah. For example, the technological advancements in F1, Le Mans, like whenever accidents happen, manufacturer takes note and they ultimately apply to those cars. And then ultimately from racing cars, it comes down to road cars.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, what are the kind of developments that we might to get to see in the future regards to safety in cars?
Um, yes, again, the implementation of artificial intelligence
Mm,
in a way that it's not just a comfort feature or or an assistance feature, but the point where we are saying this is not just now assistance to a driver, but we say, okay, neural network take over a certain safety task. That would
mm,
be the biggest step, I think, because
mm,
it's really a switch from taking the driver out of the loop and
mm,
trusting something we cannot verify with our old methods.
mm,
This this will be the biggest step if we are taking this step.
mm,
So we are already using somehow neural networks or machine learning algorithms for object detection,
mm,
but they also only assistance systems. So, and this switch to trust them fully, to
mm,
take over certain tasks from a driver fully, that
mm.
would be the game changer.
Yeah. Now, what are your future plans with the safety and and the critical systems industry? Like, what do you plan to do?
Yeah, I hope to provide uh, to improve the safety of cars, and hope to provide also to make electrical vehicles more safe, which I currently do,
Mm,
and also to yeah to help to make autonomous driving safe, to help to implement neural networks in cars to make them safe. Yeah, to be part of the most interesting developments in the automotive industry and making them safer. That's probably my plan for my future career.
That's a wonderful plan. Now, like if we talk about safety, what is the difference between, like safety in normal ICE cars, like cars with engine, and EVs? Like, is there a safety, like, is there a difference between safety in these two cars, these two type of cars?
On the one hand, no, because the control units are somehow the same. We are just controlling a different type of engine. And on the other hand, it's totally different. So the one of the danger of the hazards in a gasoline powered car is that it can start to the fuel can start to burn. We don't have this hazard here, but we have high voltage, also very hazardous, and burning is still an issue, but with different aspects. We cannot just I don't know if you have experience with firefighting, but and a traditional car, you're cooling it with water and then you're putting foam on it, a special type of foam, and then it doesn't burn anymore. With an electric car, it's a little bit more tricky because you can cool it with water to extinct the fire and to pull the people out, but water is also it does not stop the current from flowing, but we need there on this side new approaches, but that's probably just the crash aspect. But also we have now all this we have new elements in the car. Still we have an inverter now in a car, totally new types of hazards, maybe better ones, maybe worse ones, but on this side is very different. So to sum it up, on some aspects are the same and some are very, very different because you have a totally different type of engine. A lot of mechanical aspects are still the same, but high voltage is probably the most important issue to prevent people from getting in contact with high voltage. Therefore, we have the most basic approach is in case of a crash or in case of a malfunction, you need to discharge the car. We have a passive discharging and also active discharging, so that there is really a function which is implemented in software and has actuators to really actively discharge the car. That's, I think that's the main difference between these types of cars.
Yeah. Now, Florian, do you have any parting words for the audience?
Yes, please. I think you said that a lot of students are listening to this podcast. So if you're thinking of a career in engineering, in automotive engineering especially, consider pursuing a career in safety engineering. It's not, some say it's very boring, but I think it's very interesting, and also you are adding a very important feature to systems in keeping systems safe and saving therefore lives of people.
Yeah, and it's one of the most critical parts of the automotive industry because it deals with the lives of people.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it was great having you on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you again for having me. It was a great talk.
Yeah, and like we will, like do an episode in the future too when more safety systems come in, and we will do an episode that time as well. So thank you for being on the podcast, Florian. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.